And I think we're good to go. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or whatever time it is over wherever you are. Hope you're having a good day. Today we're going to go over some mixing. First class, I went over basic paints that we need and whatnot. And today I'm going to go over some mixing. Nothing too fancy. We need something like a cup, something that's round, got a circle, another thing that's round, bowl works just fine. And we're going to get our, let's get our notebook here. And let me see, I'm using the Canson. Let's see if I can get this in frame here. Sorry, guys. Mixed media. Canson mixed media book, watercolor book works well also. This one's been a little used and a little loved. So anyway, I wanted to get us started today. Got some extra papers in here and whatnot, and here we go. We're going to make this a color chart today. So if you have your paints, go ahead and get them out and grab yourself a pencil, get yourself something that's, a circle inside a circle. That's about what we're going to do right there. First off, we're going to just put a bowl down on our paper here, and then we're just going to draw a circle around here. Just like that. Nothing too fancy schmancy. If you can do that, you can paint. And you can draw too, but we'll get to that later. And then we're going to kind of try to get that right about in the center. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing too fancy schmancy. And we're going to draw us a couple of circles here. And then we're going to get us something straight, ruler, edge of a paintbrush, whatever. And then we're going to draw some lines here. Let's see. That. And then make one without. Try to get through about the middle. Do it like you're just slicing up a pie. It's nothing too fancy here. Try to get it more or less in the middle. I don't think I got mine centered, but that's okay. That's fine. And we're gonna divide it into 4. And then we're gonna divide it into 4 more. And we're gonna have 8 pieces of our pie here. And they don't have to be even. You and I both know if we're making pie for the family, somebody's always got the big piece. I used to tell my kids, okay, one of you gets to cut it and the other one gets to choose which one gets the bigger piece. And the person that cuts it doesn't get to choose. So that usually works out pretty well. But anywho, so we got our 8 divisions here. We got 8 in the middle, 8 on the outside. And what we're going to do, we're going to take our 2 yellows, our 2 reds, our 2 blues, and our two browns, I call them. We're going to get those out, and we're going to start doing some. We also need our titanium white, which is this little nice guy here. Using our Arteza colors today. I might bring out some others and may get into a little bit of difference. Depends on how we run on time here. And this is my fancy schmancy palette. The foam plate works just fine. And if Kitty comes through the shot here, that's Misty. She's very curious of what I'm doing today. She likes to check out what I'm painting, and sometimes I wind up with paw prints in my art, so that works. Anyway, we're going to start out with, this is a lemon yellow. It's if you got cadmium yellow, that's very close to the same thing. In fact, I'll grab a cadmium right here, right now. And let's see here. Excuse me for zipping away for a sec, but we'll get our cadmiums here. Quite a few different colors there. But anyway, we're going to start with the lemon yellow from the Arteza set, because that's a new set that I got, and some of you may have gone and bought this set because it's a good set to start with. It is, it'll give you most of them. You're probably, you're always going to want more. That's just part of doing that. So we're going to get our cad yellow. We're going to get a little brush here. That's a little brush. You don't need much. And we're going to paint the outer circle here with just our basic colors. So we're going to add our lemon yellow here. Nothing too fancy. Don't worry about your stroke. Just blah, blah, blah. You know, just get it in there. Just get some paint on there. And you just kind of want to more or less stay within the lines. It doesn't have to be perfect. This color, most yellows, by the way, are transparent colors, which means you can see through them. So when you're painting or when you're mixing colors, you need to keep that in mind. Because what can happen is you can paint a bright, beautiful bright yellow over, say, a darker color. And that color, that bright yellow that you once had, is no longer there because the light is going through the paint and is not, you know, when it comes back, it's hitting the darker color underneath it. And that's something you'll want to think about later on when you're painting. So sometimes what people will do, they'll add some cadmium white to it or another bright white. Usually titanium white, or not cadmium white, I'm sorry, titanium white. You add titanium white to it and brighten it up a little bit. And then we rinse our brush. Always rinse your brushes good. When you rinse your brushes, something to keep in mind, this cup's been kind of well used. I don't know if you can see down in there. But if you'll notice, I don't have the water. See, this is the ferrule right here, this middle part right here, that's the ferrule. And what we don't want to do is get water up above the ferrule. See the handle here? We don't want to get it up there. If you have wood handles, it will split your wood handles if you leave it in there too long. And it's just not good to get it up in there because water gets inside this ferrule. And it's not really great on your brushes. But anyway, let's give it a good rinse. And this cup looks kind of pink because it's had pink paint in it before. My grandson was painting in there. So he was working on a project. So we got a little bit of, and it's dry paint, it's not going to hurt anything, so it's just in there and gives her a little more, a little less careful about getting things rinsed and whatnot. Okay, next color is going to be our yellow ochre. And here we go. Let's see if you can see that. Just a little bit there. That's one thing I don't like about these. They do tend to pop. I don't know if you saw that pop just now, but you know, popped a thing of air there. And sometimes you'll get an air pocket, and sometimes you'll get a pocket that pops out more than just air. You end up with a big glob of paint there, which isn't so fun. Anyway, this is our yellow ochre, and we're gonna put this over here, I guess. It doesn't really matter which direction we go, but we're gonna do that. We're gonna get that, like a little water on there. Here we go. And usually when you're painting on canvas, you know, you want to mix a little bit of water from your brush in your paints, but not too much. You know, you just want a little bit, and try not to get it into your other paint. If you do, just wipe your brush off. But you want to kind of keep it in there. And if you can see, and this is, you know, it'll get more transparent too as you're painting yellows, and also a lot of your magenta kind of colors, your blue side of your reds will also be very transparent. So that's something to keep in mind. You notice I'm not too worried about staying totally within the lines there. Sorry about that. I don't know if you could hear the phone ring on there or if it mixed it out, but my phone started ringing. Oh, that's not good. But anyway, so what we want to do, we'll just, you know, get a couple layers on there so it really shows that true yellow ochre color. And I mean, yellow ochre looks kind of more like a brown than it does a yellow, but it is actually a true yellow. So there we go, and we'll rinse that out. All right, then we're going to come over. If you notice what I'm doing, I'm going to put my paints on my palette or my plate here the same direction as I'm going with the color wheel here on the paper. So we're going to squirt a little of this out. This next color here should be my cadmium or something. Oh, this one says Scarlet Red. It's kind of like a cadmium red. It's a red. This is a scarlet, and it's kind of a cadmium red. It's kind of a red with a little orange tinge to it. It's not really, or yellow tinge to it. It's not quite orange, but it's got that little bit of orange look in there. Because if you look at it, let me show you the two reds here. And this is your more yellow red here, and this is your more blue red. So if you can see the difference there on the camera here, let me see. Yeah, this is your, see, it looks orange on my camera. I don't know how it's coming out on YouTube, but I mean, that's actually a red. It looks more orange, but if you just take it by itself, you know, tend to look more red. But if you put it next to a bluish red, it's going to look more orange. But your cadmium red is going to be like that. This is a crimson red. Sometimes you'll, yeah, there's a, you know, your magenta colors are more like this other crimson red. We'll get to that one in a minute. So anyway, so we're going to do your scarlet red. If you got a cadmium red, do your cadmium here. Okay. So we're going to hit that. And there's a reason I do the yellow colors first, is because the lighter color tends to get more contaminated quite easier, tends to be more transparent, and if you have even a smidgen of another color on your brush, it is going to show up in your yellows. So I try to do those first, that and the whites, unless the paint underneath it's dry, because it will mix in and it will change your colors there. So that's something you want to take into consideration. So here we go. We're just going to keep filling these in, and I'm just going to get on it here, and we're just going to slap a bunch of paint here, and there's going to be our cadmium red here, which is kind of like a orangey, yellowy kind of red. And we'll just get on here. I'm just trying to get some paint on the color wheel here. So we got that there. Here we go. I'm going to try to take this pretty slow because I realize that most of you watching are probably beginners, I would say. If you're watching this video, that's what this video is. You know, that's what this video is made for. And you got to start somewhere. You know, don't be afraid to, oops, I boo-booed, you know, if you get a spot on somewhere else. You know, the nice thing about acrylics is you can let them dry. And it's no big deal. I have my water swished in there. I'm just trying to get my brush cleaned out there. And you'll notice, even if your brush is rinsed out, and especially with some of the blues, especially the phthalo blues and the phthalo greens, but some of the reds also, and this red's no exception. If you look at my brush there, that brush is rinsed out, but do you see that red on there? It's totally rinsed out. You know, I can paint on my hand there. It's not going to do anything. That's because it's stained the bristles there. And some paints will do that. And that's one of them. The phthalo blues tend to be really notorious for that. So anyway, so let me see here. Next color we're going to do in the Arteza set is the crimson red. And we're going to put some on our palette here. Just a smidgen, just like that. Let's see. We'll put that on there. And this is not a quinacridone, which I prefer to have the quinacridone because of how it mixes with other colors, especially with blues, to get that really vibrant purple that some of us really like. If you really want a vibrant purple, it's really a good idea to get that quinacridone. But, you know, this works for now. I haven't looked at the pigments to see what exact pigments are used in this color, this crimson red, but I do have I have a quinacridone crimson that is not exactly what I had intended on getting. I kind of bought it on accident. But if you get the quinacridone the quinacridone magenta, a true quinacridone magenta, that's where you'll get those really popping purples that some like, especially if you're going to paint flowers. It's really a good idea to have that quinacridone magenta. That's where that color mixes up really well there. Okay, that's good enough. You don't have to do it all the way to the edge. And if you go a little over, just let it dry. It's not going to be a problem. Make sure you rinse your brush out really well in between. Like I said, I'm working off the Arteza set. I do have the other paints. I do have my professional paints. I tend not to use them when I'm doing an art journal unless I'm documenting my colors. And when I do get new paints, if I get a new color, sometimes even if I get a new batch, most of the batches in the professional paints are going to be spot on, but not all of them. You know, once in a while you can look at that and go, oh, you know, and sometimes it's just, you know. Usually the pro paints you don't have that issue with. A lot of the crafting paints, you can get different batches of craft paints, and they absolutely will, you know, can really shift from one batch to another, even though it's considered the same color. They're usually pretty good. And then see, I got a little bit of paint there, so we're gonna rinse a little bit more. And one thing you'll notice when you have your water this low, I hope we can see that. When you have your water this low, you are going to have to change your water more frequently. So I keep a couple of cups around. That's just, you know, and sometimes I'll just go to the sink and rinse them. But you know, as soon as you can wipe this and it looks good and clean, and then there you go. And then we're good to go to the next color. And then for blues, whoa, oops, that did come off right there. Okay, and I have a cat trying to climb on me. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you this. This is a true quinacridone magenta. This is my Liquitex paints here. In fact, I'm going to put a little of that, just a tad of that on my palette here too. We can see that. I'm going to move that out of your way. There we go. You can see that. But if you can see, there's a little bit of difference between this quinacridone magenta and this other red. What is this? This is crimson red. So there's a bit of a difference. And I think what I might do is let this one dry here and put it, you know, in fact, I'll just paint a little bit on the side here on the edge so you can see the difference. See, that quinacridone is quite a bit more pinkish. It's, yeah, that's a true quinacridone right there. And it's a lot more pinkish. And if you'll notice, it's also, it's a lot more transparent than this what is this color again? This crimson red. And if I were to paint this quinacridone over this, in fact, I may do that in a minute here, you'll see there's quite a bit of a difference there. But the quinacridone will pick up the red that's under here. It'll pick up this crimson red that's under here, and you'll see the difference. But this is clearly more of a blue red than this. This looks, you know, on my camera, that looks orange. In fact, even on the paper, it looks a little orange. But, sweetie, little Misty Kitty wants to join us today. So, anyhow, so now we're gonna, I'll come back to that. We'll let this one dry, and we will move on to. And there's two blues in your. And if you have the Arteza kit, there's two blues in here. You've got the Ultramarine Blue and your Selalu. And they're actually, one's lighter than the other. They're actually fairly similar. They kind of, it's, you know, that's another thing where I don't really care for a lot of these kits that they put together, because sometimes it's like, oh, but I want this other color. I've got to have that to make this color that I want. And it drives you a little bit batty when you're trying to go through. Like for instance, in fact, I'll put a cad red here too. I'll put this on the upper side, and you'll see that this cad red, the cadmium red, this cad red light here that I put here, and this cad red light, that is even like lighter and even more orange than the Scarlet Red that comes in the kit. But I'm just putting this here so you can see the differences there. So this is cadmium red, that is quinacridone magenta. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit of idea of when you buy these sets. And that's one thing I don't really care for about sets. I've actually been thinking about putting a set together so that people can get the real basic colors to mix just about anything. Because you end up with some little variances and whatnot here. So I'm going to rinse out my brush again. Then we're going to go to our blues. I'm going to get on the blues here. But I did want to show you the differences there, because they are different. They are different. And let me see. I'm looking. Let me see. And I'll bring out the Selalu Blue for you guys. And I think there is a Selalu Blue in here. Let me see. There's Ultramarine. Oh, they do have a Selalu Blue. Okay, I don't need to do that then. But this is what they call Ultramarine Blue. And that's that dark blue, ocean blue. Oops, sorry, honey. Oh my goodness. I'm kidding. And then I'm also going to put, this is the Cerulean Blue, that's more your sky kind of blue. And I'm going to put a little of that there too, so you can see the differences there, because there are some clear differences in the Cerulean Blue, this sky blue. In fact, I'll put a little dab of this over here. That's a Cerulean Blue. That's your sky blues. And then like your Selalu blues and your even the ultramarine, those are the, you know, the phthalo and ultramarine, like I said, they're very similar. And those are both going to be your darker, kind of Mediterranean, oceany kind of colors. And then there's a, you know, there's a phthalo green that looks more like a, more like that green, you know, kind of turquoisey color that you see in a lot of ocean pictures and whatnot. You're still going to want to get, you know, like a cerulean blue as well. A cerulean blue and the quinacridone magenta, and then again to the cadmium cadmium red, and this yellow is pretty close to cadmium yellow. I'll try to pull one of those out too and show you, but just to give you an idea. But we're gonna go with the ultramarine blue right now. And I do have a little already. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna paint this in, and we're just gonna take it easy and take it slow. There's no reason to rush. I know some people go, oh, the video's so long. Well, you know, if we weren't taking our time here, we wouldn't. Yeah, you can see the difference in the shade of that. That is a very different shade. But if we weren't taking our time to go through all this, then some people get rushed and they feel like they have to, oh my gosh, I have to do this and I have to be, you know, I have to keep up and all that. And that's okay. You don't have to. You can watch this later and rewind and whatnot. But basically, we're just trying to get the colors out here. And then we're going to do some color mixing as well. But this is going to be your basic color wheel, and it's a good thing too to have in your book a you know, a actual the actual paint to show you what does it look like. You can look at these the swatches on the paint container by itself, and look at the paint that's on the paper, and your paper is even going to change to some degree the color that you have there. But like you can see, this is the tube that this paint came out of, and although it's really similar, it's really darn close, it's not exactly the same. And what on some colors that really make a difference, I'll just take a piece of, you know, take some of my paint, and I will actually paint directly on the container what is in that container, that tube or jar or whatnot, and I will actually just put that directly on there, so that way you can see. And this is going to be more of a transparent blue, this one here, in my experience, and I've just gotten these. But yeah, the ultramarine tends to be and it's a good color to have around too. Those dark ocean blues are really good to get with that, and mix that with a little phthalo green, and you've got, you know, a little white, and you've got that turquoisey beautiful color. And sometimes on the more transparent paint, you're also going to be able to see the white from either the gesso on your canvas, which is what allows your paint to stick to the canvas, whether you put it on there or not. And it is a good idea, you know, when you're just beginning. That's why I like just getting a notebook, because if you take a class and you do a bunch of different paintings and whatnot, where are you going to put them all? And a lot of people, you know, they end up painting over them, and then they think back and they go, oh wow, I wish I had kept that, and they didn't, and then they're like, oh no, you know, and I wish I remembered what this looked like, or I wish I still had that painting I first did to show my kids or whatever. If you have them in a notebook, you can do that, and you don't have to go back later and whatnot. Okay, next we're going to do the phthalo blue. Phthalo blue, I can guarantee you that this brush right here, that got a little stain from the red, this is going to be a blue brush here in a little bit. Phthalo's stain. They're a dye. They stain just about everything that touches them. Good reason to wear some older clothing when you do this. But if you look, you're gonna see, and this has kind of got that more greenish kind of look than your ultramarine blue. But this is that, you know, this is that phthalo here. In fact, I'll pull that out a little bit so you can see it against the white here. You can get a little transparency there. And I'm going to put it on here too. In fact, I'll just wipe that on there. But you can see when I thin that out with my finger that that's more of that turquoisey, oceany blue. That's that greenish bluish kind of color. And this is more that deep, dark, you know, that's that deep ocean blue. And I worked out in the ocean. I can tell you, you know, a lot of oceans look like this, and they have a lot of your yellows in there too. They have this greenish, kind of more like that. That's more your turquoisey color there. We'll get into that later, but kind of just give you an idea. And some of them have the more blue, you know, that real deep, deep blue kind of color going on. And it depends in what part of the world you're in, what's under the water, what's in the water. I've seen the ocean look up and been swimming in it where it's actually pea green, and we had a what's called a phytoplankton bloom. That's where the little green little plant plankton go out and they literally turn the water absolutely green. But see, if you put it on here, it's going to give you more of a blue look rather than where it's spread out here, and you can see that there's actually that greenish tinge to it. So it's more coming around to the colors here, which is why we're doing this on a wheel. And, you know, I used to only do 6 colors in the wheel and do it like that because this does come back around to here, but in the, you know, I could have switched these either way. And then I thought, well, we've got we've got our browns, we've got, you know, our umbers and our siennas, and we have to get those guys in there too. So that's why I did 8. You can do 6 if you want. Either way, you know, when you do your chart that I'm going to show you in a little bit, I started mine. And the chart I'm not going to do totally on camera. I already started one. I will show you how to do it. It does take a long time to do that. And you definitely want to have palette when you're going to be mixing. And I'll give you some tips on that. But by palette, I mean you can just use a foam plate. But you're going to want to, you know, clock your paints out. So you remember what is where and all that. And so you can see a definite difference in those blues. You know, this is more of a blue, and then if you look at the cerulean blue, it's down here. That is a totally different beast, and these mix very differently from each other. These two mix similar. The cerulean blue, this lighter blue that's down here, that one mixes quite differently than some of these. If you want the purples, bright purples, you're gonna want to use one. If you want more of a deep, more natural kind of irisy kind of color, you're gonna use the other because it's more of a kind of muted kind of a purple. Because you can't, you know, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, if you mix blue and yellow together, what do you get? Do you get green? Well, you get a green, more or less. Sometimes you can actually get kind of a gray. And the same thing with mixing red and blue. You know, if you think, oh, that'll give us purple. Not always, not so much. Not exactly what you think of as being a purple, which is the reason you need to chart out your colors and whatnot. And if you get a new set, you want to chart them out and mix them with each other, see how they play together. And when you use the same pigments, they will work more or less the same way. If you have different reds, you know, different reds are going to mix differently with your blues to make different kinds of purples. Different reds will mix differently with the different yellows to make different types of yellow. And, you know, your yellows with your blues to make your greens, those are going to be different as well. So that's kind of what we're going to do in here in a little bit. And then we're also going to work on tint, tone, and shade, and that's all about the adding white, darkening up with black, or just mixing the other colors together. I'll show you that in a minute. But you're going to want to definitely you know, work on your tints, tones, and shades too, which have to do with it. You know, tint is adding white, shade is adding black, and tone is adding some degree of that, either white, black, or gray. And it's just you're keeping the same color value, but you're changing the shade of that, or the shade of that color. Okay, so this is our burn umber here. I like to get you know, like a burnt umber and a raw sienna that's more kind of a reddish brown. Okay, so this is our burnt sienna. Yeah, this is here. I'd kind of like to get a raw sienna, but then it's nice to have a burnt sienna too, you know. But definitely burnt umber. That's your classic brown color that most people think of as brown, or fairly close to it anyway. And you know, nothing fancy. We're just going to take this easy and And you know, I just enjoy it and play. And another thing that's good too is like, see this corner here. I mean, I'm just kind of sticking the paint in there. But when you go to really paint and you really want a sharp corner, that's where those angle brushes come in really nice. They you can get an angle brush in there and really make those corners very clean, or get a dot for a, you know, a little flower or the center of a flower, depending on the size of flower you're painting or how many and whatnot you're doing on canvas. But yeah, I think you'll find, like I have, that the angle brushes are wonderful. That's little Miss Misty saying hello. Hi, Misty. Oh my goodness, she's really saying hello. But anyway, that's your burn umber there. That's that dark brown. Let me get my brush cleaned out here. Then we're gonna go and we're going to put down some. The burnt sienna is what came in the kit here, and this is, like you can see, it's kind of a more yellowish, kind of orangey. It kind of got a ridge tinge to it, brown over the burn umber. And this is the sienna here. This is the burnt sienna. Let's see, I know I've got a raw sienna in here somewhere in my other paints, so I can show you the difference there too. Here we go. Here's a raw sienna. I'll brush slow that over here. Excuse me, sweetie. We're doing class here, honey. Come on. Yep. She's sniffing the camera right now. No, don't rub on the camera. Nope, nope. We can't do that. Sorry, kiddo. But this is your raw sienna. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the burnt sienna. There's your raw sienna. And that looks way more like a yellowish. That's your raw. That's your burnt. So, and like I said, most paints, even from different companies, they're going to be more or less the same and they work about the same, but it's good to get used to working with your paints. And you can switch paints, whatever, but it's good to get used to whatever it is you have and work with what you've got, and not go out and buy 50,000 different colors of paint. And there's big kits and they're nice, they have 48 colors or whatever. This is really all you need, that and your white, as far as paints go. And you can mix just about anything with these. And it's, like I said, it's nice to have, these other colors. That's what I'm used to working with. I'm used to working with those colors. And I believe Artisan makes these other colors too. And then there's certain colors, like, you can mix any kind of green you want. These blues here and these yellows, you can mix just about any kind of green you want, and, toss a little red in there and whatnot. Not too much, just a tad. And you'll find that you can mix any color you want, pretty much. And who knows how many millions of colors you can do with that. But if you're the more used to the paints that you use, that you have, I think the better off you are. And there's a certain ones like this one here, the quinacridone magenta. That one, I haven't found any substitute for that. If you either have it or you don't, And these colors in general, those are going to be your really base colors here. But here's that burnt sienna. That's kind of got that. It's got a kind of an orangish, reddish tone to it. And then I'll put the raw sienna back up over here, and you can see what that looks like too. But from these colors here, you have these colors here. You don't really need a black. I have a black because it came in a set. And it's good to demonstrate tint, tone, and shade. But usually when you're mixing black, you're taking colors from the painting around there. Unless you're doing like an abstract, you're going to take the colors from around that area, and they're always going to be reflective. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit from your yellows, a little bit from your reds, a little bit from your blues, and maybe a little bit from your browns, and mix up your own black relative to what is around there. And that way it'll look more natural, more true. If you just try to paint things with your standard black paint that's in a paint set, generally they tend to lean towards the bluish side. And if you've got a bluish painting, that might be okay. But is it going to be the same blue that you got in your blues? Maybe, maybe not. And it may not turn out so well. So that is something to think about there. Because if you look outside and you say, oh, it's black in the shade over there, well, it's not really black. If you take a digital photograph and you put it into a program like say Photoshop or photo, any photo editing program that actually reads out the numeric values of those colors, which is pretty amazing. That's a nice tool to have. Then what you're going to run into is that you're going to have, you can take a digital picture with the shade, and to you it looks absolutely, that's absolutely black, and you'll put it in there and it will come up with a very different tone if you take it by, say, underneath, say, some pine trees where there's green cast or brown cast from the ground or whatnot, and if you take it from versus, say, something at the harbor where there's more blues and you have that bluish tinge, or if you're taking it in the fall when you have a lot of yellows and oranges from the leaves and whatnot. Very, very different. If you're taking it from an animal, like animal spur, they're going to have very different undertones of that black. So, all blacks are not created equal by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, I'm going to grab another brush here because that one's got some fairly dark paint on it, and my water's getting a little mucky. I'm going to swap water cups here, and I think I'll do that right now. And then, because when your water starts, actually probably even before, starts looking like that, it's time to change your water. So I'm going to let that brush soak in there. I'm going to swap brushes. It is good to have a couple of each brush. You don't have to. If you have time and you want to just relax and just do it with one or two brushes, then you're good. You don't have to have a bunch of brushes. But I find over time, the synthetic brushes tend to wear out a little more often than others do. I have brushes that I started painting with when I was a teenager, and now they're 40-something years old, and I still have them. They're not in great shape, but I still have them, and they still work. But I wouldn't use them on really fine things or whatnot. It's really good to have the proper brushes for that. So anyway, we are going to, with our palette here, that's not quite dry. I'm not going to set that down. But with our palette here, we got our 2 yellows, our 2 reds, our 2 blues, and then our 2 browns, and then we're going to add a bunch of titanium white to that because we are going to start changing some things here. We are going to start mixing our colors. I know it may seem like, why are we doing all this? It's important to do this so you can see, because when you add white to these colors, you can lighten them up and see really what is behind them. Like when I was painting this one here, the Selalu Blue, you could see how green it looked when you really pull it out and you see this. I mean, it's not quite that green, but you see how turquoise it looks here versus, and then of course that's mixed, but you see how turquoise it looks here because it's picking up the white of the plate. So it's important to know that. So what we're going to do here, I'll scoot that down a little bit. We're going to take our brush, and you just use the tip of your brush. You want to just dive your brush in there and get it all whipped to the ferrule, which is the metal part here. That's the metal part here. We're just going to use the tips of the brush, and you can see this brush is also blue, which means I've painted on it with Selalu Blue. It's not, I can go like this on my paper here, and you're not going to see anything. I might get a little graphite from the pencil there, but it's not painting anything blue. And this brush isn't in the best of shape. It's got some little frizz going on there, but it's an older brush, and that's okay. Actually, I think this is one of my 40-year-old brushes. Yes, it is. Yeah, this one's, so maybe not 40. I think this one's about 30 years old. But this is a really old brush. But if you take really good care of your brushes, which is important, you can make them last a very good long time. Most people will say after a couple years that they wouldn't use it anymore, but I still use them. They're still good. Now this brush is at least 30 years old. I think it's more like 35 years old or something like that. I think I bought this one back in the 90s. And this is a synthetic. I'm just kind of surprised it's one of the ones that stuck around, but it's one of the better synthetics. So what we're going to do, we're going to pick up a little bit of our paint. We're going to take a little scoop, and we're going to stick it over here, kind of close to our yellow. You can see that here. We'll put it a little closer. We'll put it right there. And then we're going to wipe that down. And then we're going to take a little bit of our yellow. Not much, just a little bit. A little scoop. And you might get a little white in there. Not a big deal. And then we're just going to take just the tip of the brush, and we're going to mix that. And then you can maybe a little bit more. Here we go. Let's see. We don't need a ton of paint here. Yeah, we're going to have to scoop up quite a bit more. Here we go. That's quite a bit of paint there. I didn't mean to quite do that much, but yeah, that happens. And especially when you're new, you tend to mix either not enough paint or too much, usually too much, but yeah, just try to keep it down. You can always mix more, which is a good thing to know. And then what we're going to do is we are going to paint this on the inside triangle here. You're going to get that right in there, just like a little piece of pie. And this is the tint of this yellow. So that is, yeah, and the reason I do a color wheel with the tint in the middle is because you can see exactly what that color is. Because sometimes the colors are a little darker and you say, oh, what is that going to look like when it hits canvas, or what's going to be like when we start mixing it with other things. So this will give you a better idea. And start painting and reference back to that, and it's a good idea to do that. So, and then we'll wipe our brush off here. And a paper towel, and then we'll give it a good rinse. And sometimes you get a little more paint in there than you want to, but even still, you know, it's. I know when you're painting with oils, you tend to wipe your brush a whole lot because you're dealing with other things here. Now we're going to go to our oxide here. Either yellow oxide. What's the other name for it? Oh goodness, I'm kind of in slow world today. Oh goodness, where is the or yellow ochre, yellow oxide. I don't believe I have a yellow oxide here right now, but we're gonna mix that. I'm not worried about mixing over that little bit of blue right there because it's dry. If it weren't dry, that would mix and make something else, but it's dry. When you're just learning, kind of avoid those because you might have it still wet. But and you know that it makes a nice pretty color. So we're going to paint this right in here, and this is going to be the color chart. Now there are other colors in this set. There's a gold, a silver, a phthalo green, and there's another green too. And there's a phthalo green, that's kind of that neat oceany color, which is if you're not painting oceans, it's probably not the best color to have, but if you're painting oceans, it's a good color to have. And they have a pale green. So this is a pale green here, and there's a phthalo green there. So those are kind of extras. Do you need those? Not really. Are they nice to have? Oh yeah, you know, especially, you know, the phthalo doing oceans and whatnot. Really nice color, because when you think of phthalo, you're usually thinking of blue, but you get the phthalo green, and then it comes out a beautiful color. It's more like an oceany kind of color than anything else. All right, so let's wipe that one down. And especially when you're mixing the lighter colors, you really want to make sure your brush is really clean, because it's going to be, you know, I mean, on something like this, it's a little forgiving, and if you make a boo-boo, you can always paint over it. It's not a big deal. But if you're doing it on a painting that you really spend a lot of time on, you're probably going to be a little more concerned. But still, if you make an error, no biggie. You can always do it over. So once again, we're gonna pick up, and I did get a little bit of yellow ochre in there. That I'm gonna put a bit of white right there, and then we're gonna scoop up a little bit of this red. Maybe a little bit more. Well, maybe not. Yeah, this is a really strong red here. And by strong, I mean that there are some colors that you mix up, and you just have to use a tiny bit. The phthalos are one of those. They're very strong colors. It takes a very small amount of phthalos, and when we get over to the phthalo blue, you'll see what I mean. There's other colors too. The yellows and some of the reds tend to be stronger than others. It just depends. But this is the Scarlet Red here. This is the Scarlet Red mixed with white here. There we go. We'll just get this in here. And we're going to paint that. That's a nice little pink there. Although if you mix this with blue, you're probably not going to get what you think. You're not going to end up with a super vibrant purple. And I'll show you that with the quinacridone red. That's why I tend to lean hard towards having a quinacridone magenta, a true quinacridone magenta, because it really does kind of make the colors pop when you mix it. So we'll mix that, we'll wipe that, and rinse that out, and rinse a little more. And this is kind of a staining red too. So if your brush is, you know, if you're not sure if your brush is good or not, just wipe it on a paper towel, you know, and see. But this Scarlet Red by Arteza, it's one of the more staining colors, just like quinacridone tends to be also. And like I said, the phthalo blues and greens, the phthalos are really tend to stain quite a bit. But yeah, if you're, I'll show you on my paper towel. If I go like this, I'm not saying any color come on there other than just, the color change from a little water hitting it. No biggie. That's good. She's clean. Okay, and then we're gonna go up again. And we're gonna just pick up just about that much, just like a little smaller than a pea size, about a pea size of white. And then we wipe that down here, and then just pick up a little bit of red, and then we mix it in. And there we go. And just go back and forth, just dab, 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 just like that. And see, this one, when you lighten it up, you can tell that this one looks a little bit more blue side. This one looks a little bit more that side, more towards the yellows. And that makes a big difference. This one would make a nice purple. The quinacridone magenta makes an incredibly beautiful purple, like a bright purple, like a lot of people think. We're going to lighten this up just a little bit more. Try to get the tint tone shade about like that, so you can really see the difference. I'm going to hit this with some more white so you can just see the difference in these. There we go. That's a little closer. There we go. Yeah. There we go. But you can see there's quite a difference between these two. Quite a difference. And we paint it on here. It looks fairly close, but there's a, when you start mixing, that little bit of difference makes a lot of difference. A lot of bit of difference. What I tell my grandkids. A little bit or a lot of bit. But yeah, and see, I painted over that a little. No biggie. No big deal. We're just trying to get that color of heat more or less in that little triangle there. And if it goes a little over, that's okay. Okay, now we're going to start getting into our blues. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to take and show you guys what this quinacridone magenta does when it's one of my... No, it's a favorite color, but it's not just favorite because I like the color itself, but it's a favorite because of the way it mixes. I'm kind of a bit of a chemistry nut. I like oh, what is, I like things that react, I guess, is kind of my thing. And I like something like that reacts. It is absolutely a beautiful color. But and then when you go in with your paintbrush, you don't want it dripping wet, but you want to, just fuzzy on there, but you want it, so if you paint like that on your finger, you're gonna, that's, well, I guess there is a little paint there still. Whoops. Okay, let's get this wiped out here. Let me get that pink off of there. Yeah, it's gonna have a little bit still. Some of these are staining. I don't know, that one's not too bad. There is a little bit left there. Yeah, I'm just taking my time because I know a lot of you are working with one paintbrush. There's no reason to rush through this. It's just, if some of you want to go faster or you're reviewing this then later on, then yeah, you might want to, I want to fast forward through some of this, but I'm trying not to rush because I know some of you might be trying to paint along. But after you squeeze out your brush, it's going to be just a teeny bit down. If you want to dip it, so we dip it like that. And now it's good and wet, but we don't want it dripping like that. So what we do is we just wipe it off on the edge of your cup, just about like that. Get the excess off. And, you don't want that much on there, but you do want it. Let's see if I can just see this on the paper here. You can't really see it on there. You might be able to see it better on my hand, but you want to be able to paint it and feel that it's wet. And not just damp like a brush that's just been wiped off, but you want a little bit, so we got, a little bit wet, but not dripping. That's a little bit wetter than I want. But anyway, that's about right there. Just so it feels wet, not so it's soaking wet. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to mix up a little of this quinacridone magenta with some white here, and I'll show you what this looks like. This is a different beast. This did not come in the Arteza set, but it is a color I think most, if not everybody, should have because of what it does when it mixes. Now look at that. I mean, is that a beautiful color or not? This is the color that if you want purples or the really bright pinks, what you're going to want. And let's see the difference between the quinacridone and these other two reds. Yeah, this is the Scarlet Red here, and that's a crimson red there. And I'll actually mix up some of this cadmium too. That's more kind of an orangey kind of red. But this is the quinacridone magenta that makes this nice you know, purpley pinky kind of color that most people kind of like. Most people into pinks and whatnot that like those are more into this, and these are more muted kind of salmon colors, so these have more yellow in them, and the magentas are more towards the blue side of red. And the reason we get two colors of each of the primaries are red, yellow, and blue, and the reason we get two of them is because some of the reds lean towards orange, have a little more yellow in them. Some of the reds lean towards the blues. Some of the blues lean towards the reds. Some of the blues lean towards the greens. And the yellows sometimes lean towards more bluish or greenish colors, and some of them have lean more towards orangey or red colors. But anyway, but that's a beautiful color that the quinacridone will do, and I'll just put this out here, I guess. You can see what that looks like, and see I can paint right over where it's dry. But anyway, let's see if you can see that there. Let me pull that up so you can see it. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I guess you had it in frame anyway. And see, that's that really, really beautiful bright pink. And see how these look more salmony? It looks actually quite a bit more salmony on my camera than the other. And this red actually looks orange. You know, these reds here look orange, and the cadmium does lean towards yellow, but for whatever reason, my camera is picking up that way. And depending on how your screen's set at home, it may look like my paper, it may look like my screen, it may look totally different, you know, color-wise, but not totally different. One thing good to do when you really get into mixing colors and say you're shopping for colors is getting used to what certain colors look like on your phone screen. So you can take a picture, because your picture on your phone is not going to look exactly like the color you have on paper or your paint color. But what you can do is learn what colors look like what and what, you know, on your screen. So when you go shopping, you can kind of color correct in your head. And sometimes I'm pretty good about matching up stuff all together. And I don't know if everybody does that, but I've been pretty successful at looking for a certain color. Like, for instance, there was a gal that had a video online, and she said, "Oh, you need to have this particular color, and only this one company makes it." And I thought, "Oh no!" Like, okay, I'm gonna have to find something, because I don't live in Australia, and I'm gonna have to find this paint color. So what I did is I you know, just being used to looking at colors on phones and, you know, even people and just everything, paints and whatnot. I went down to my local art store here in Ohio, and I found a color that, you know, in my brain looked like, you know, color corrected what it would be for that. And I brought it home, and I thought, you know, I'll look up the actual pigments in the color, the actual chemicals they grind up to make it. Turned out they were exactly the same. So I did pretty good. I was pretty happy with myself, you know, and that was a couple years ago, and I hadn't really done that before. I thought, well, if nothing else, it'll be close. But it does make a difference. So here we go. We are on the, where are we at? Where's my blues go? Here we go. Okay, that's not the Selalu. Okay, this is their Ultramarine blue. And if you look at that, and I'll show you with the not the Selalu blue, the Cerulean Blue. It's more of a sky blue color. You know, the differences here. And I should probably label these. I'm gonna get a teeny bit wet. Sometimes if your brush feels a little dry, you can just take the tip of your brush and just dip it just barely into the water, and then shake it off a little, and you'll have like just part of a drop on there, and that's really all you need. And it'll loosen up that paint a little bit. Okay, so here we go. And there's the lightened version of this. And this is that ultramarine blue. Ultramarine is a great color to have. Usually I try to go with an ultramarine and cerulean, and then which is the one that's out here, and then, you know, a phthalo blue is kind of nice to have too. But like I said, with phthalo blues, you really have to watch. They do stain. They will stain your brushes. And I'm just going to go where that white was there, because the paint's dry. I can paint right over it. And the phthalo blues will stain stuff. They're beautiful colors, but you just have to, and when you're mixing, you have to be aware they're very, very strong. When you're mixing phthalo blues, whoa, you know, take it easy on there. But this is going to be more of our kind of pastel colors here. That's our tints, T-I-N-Ts. That's our colors mixed with white. So I'm going to wipe this off, get that off of there. And now we're going to go with the Selalu Blue. And like I said, this Selalu Blue here, actually, let me do the Ultramarine first. I think that one might have dried. Oh, almost. Probably should have spritzed that a little bit. I do keep a squirt bottle around. This is a squirt bottle I've had around for quite a while. And I like this one because it was an air freshener. I think it was Meyer's air freshener or something. And I just rinsed it out really, really good. And you have to rinse it out good because air fresheners have denatured alcohol in them. And that can, like, take your paint apart. But you got to really mix it well. But these are really great spray bottles. But it's good to have a spray bottle and not like a big industrial house cleaning one. But one that gives you a good fine mist. And I don't think I can really show that on here. I don't think it would do that very well. But anyway, we're going to take a little bit of our Cerulean Blue. This is, what's generally used for a sky blue. And I'll put a little more of that on there. Squirt swish. And here we go. And then we're going to pick up, set out, I guess we got a little bit of it on there. Oh, that's okay. Okay. I'll just dab that off in the water. Okay, we're going to pick up a dab of this. This one's not too crazy on the as far as dyes are concerned. But here we go. But there's where you get that nice sky blue. I'll mix that in there and kind of a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, we'll get some there. I'm going to mix up quite a bit here. I just keep spritzing this and might paint something after I'm done here. But anyway, so that's what that sky blue is going to look like. When you're doing clouds and whatnot, that's the color you want. That's going to be that beautiful sky blue. And then you take a little bit of white and kind of squish it in there, and you can end up doing clouds, so and give you an idea what that's all about. But it is good to have a cerulean blue if you're going to do any kind of realistic pictures with skies at all. Most of the skies, at least in North America and actually South America, just about everywhere I've been, yeah, cerulean blue is the color. You can buy pre-mixed sky blues or whatever, but that's pretty much what you're more likely going to be looking at, because your skies don't necessarily have, the other colors and whatnot that are in there. Okay, now we're going to go to our Selalu Blue here. We're going to pick up some of our white, and quite a bit of our white, because this stuff is really potent. And when we touch this, we're just going to barely take the edge of our brush and just barely touch it in there. We don't want to let off, but just a teeny bit. You can see that there. We're just going to take a teeny bit, and it's going to go a long way. And it's going to turn this brush pretty blue too, and we're going to mix that up. But this is that Selalu Blue, and this is, that greenish color that's going to put you back over towards the yellows. I mean, I could have, left these two browns out, and they'd actually be probably more accurate, because the browns are kind of, a mix of this and this and this and whatnot. So, a little bit of red, a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow, and that's where you get those browns. Really, getting the big base browns. I mean, just about everything you paint, whether it's houses or whatnot, you're going to have. Like, you can see how this stuff's like exploding now. It's like I still don't have it lightened up, and I just put that wee little bit in there. I'm just going to try to take some from the edge here, because I'm going to a little variance, but you can see how overpowering this Selalu is. It's really pretty crazy stuff. And even if it's not totally mixed on your brush or in your palette, you can still paint with it and just go over it and mix it right there on your paper or your canvas. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, sometimes you actually want to do that, and sometimes you don't want it totally mixed. Sometimes you just want it to not be mixed all the way. And a lot of flowers and whatnot, you see where they have variations, variegated flowers and whatnot. They're not totally mixed, but that is a really pretty blue though. I like that Selalu blue. Okay. There's that, and now we're going to go to the burnt umber, which is this color here. And when you get the whites, when you mix the tints for the center of your color wheel here, it'll really start showing the differences in these colors, and it helps you see what your colors can do. Because when they get darker, I mean, after a while, they just get so dark, you know, they almost look black. Like, you know, even the blue looks almost black. This looks almost black. But when you lighten them up, you can see which direction they lean. And that's important to know when you're painting, because especially when you're mixing paints, because if you mix paints and they're you know, you're looking for something that's more reddish and you're leaning more towards blue, for instance, it may not turn out so well. So here we go. And we're going to do quite a bit more of that. There's quite a bit more of that in there, and that's going to give us a nice light shade of that. We might need a bit more of that. I'm trying to avoid where I got the other colors in there. Let's see how that phthalo blue just takes over. I always have issues with phthalo blue. You just need a little bit of it, and it seems like when you just got it, then you know you just got it to where you want it. Then you're going to end up with something quite a bit lighter. For right now, we're just gonna go like that, and I'm gonna pick up a little more of this paint here, and we're gonna go along here and just make a nice little line there. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. I got a little blue in there, but I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I just got a little streak there. I can lift that off a little bit. There we go. Okay, there you go. There's your burn, the tint of your burn umber, and then we're gonna do the burnt sienna next. And the burnt sienna is that's one that's got that reddish tinge to it. And you see that in a lot of, you know, like redwood trees and whatnot. Although you still have to add a little more red for that to be more accurate for a redwood tree. But here we go. We're gonna again lift up some of the clean white there. We're gonna flop it over here next to our burnt sienna. And there we go. When you lighten these colors up, it really shows how different they are, which is why I want people to do tints of their colors on a color wheel. You can see what's going on. There we go. See what these colors can do, because that's really important. Because when you're mixing colors, you want to be able to look at something and say, oh, if you have a certain color in mind, even if you're doing an abstract, or if you're doing a realistic painting, and you want something that's a certain color, you need to be able to mix that color. And every now and then I'll probably toss some exercises in there for you to do, or I'll just mention, try to mix this color or that color, or which color makes a great flesh tone if you're painting a portrait or whatnot. What colors are you going to do that? You can do there. And this color is very good for doing flesh tones. And you can probably see it already, because we do have a little bit of red in our bodies. If you look at your skin color, it's like, oh, I'm not red. No, everybody is. I don't care if you're Hispanic or you're black or whatever, it doesn't matter. We all have a little bit of reddish, and the reason we do is because we have blood in our bodies, and oh my goodness, it's red when it's oxygenated. So guess what? We have red here. So anyway, and it's a little tricky because we've got a little that hasn't mixed in quite as much as the other, but that's okay. That's fine. Doesn't matter. We're like I said, there's times when you're going to want to do that. But yeah, for the most part, it looks good. It's mixed in. So anyway, so there's a basic color wheel. And one thing that you need to know about the color wheel is, generally when you're looking at reds, and we'll do this on the chart, when you're looking at your reds and you want to mix an orange, you don't want to, unless you want a muted orange, you don't want to mix this kind of a red in, this more bluish red, or certainly not the quinacridone magenta, but you don't want to take a more bluey kind of red. This one's kind of in the middle, but you don't want to take a blue red and mix it over here with the yellows, because it'll be much more muted. If you want a bright orange, you're going to do a brighter, or kind of like a orange, yellow tinting red to mix with your yellows. And that way you'll end up with a brighter orange. If you want to mute it, you can either take a bluish red like this one, or even your quinacridone, and you can take that and mix it in over here with your yellow, and that will give you a muted color. Let me show you what I mean. Let's break that out, and I'll give you a little demo of that. So if we're going to take, say, a little bit of this bright yellow here, I believe that's lemon yellow, and we want us to have, okay, there's our bright yellow there, and say we're going to mix this red here. I'm gonna take that one there here. I can do it with the cadmium too. And I'm gonna mix this right on here. Let's see if we get a little bit more yellow. There we go. That's a pretty strong red there. And that's gonna give you a pretty orange right there. There we go. And in fact, that's almost like a cad light right there. And, you know, pretty close to this here, which is the cad light. Make sure you can see that. This is this red here and this yellow here. And not only are they the brighter colors, but it's how they mix. Now we can take this color. We can even take the quinacridone magenta. Let me make sure I'm on the screen here. Oh, there we go. Okay, we can take this quinacridone magenta right here and mix it with here. But because this has a bluish tinge to it, it's really not going to come out quite like you think. Probably not anyway. I'm going to get a little more yellow here. Here we go. This is that lemon yellow from the Arteza set. So let's get some nice fresh yellow here. There we go. We got us a little yellow there. And here we go. Always make sure you put your lids on tight too. That's something, and wipe them before you, if you need to. If you get paint in the threads, make sure you try to wipe that off before you put your lids on, so that way you won't have lids stuck on you. And some of them can get very stuck, and if you're busy painting and whatnot, it can be really a little bit crazy. Okay, so we're going to take this yellow here, this lemon yellow, and we're going to, we got a teeny bit of, I guess that was in there, huh? I don't know. Okay, anyway, so here's that nice yellow, and then we're going to take a little bit of this. This is a quinacridone magenta. It's not in the set, but that's the one I brought to the table. And you think any kind of red's going to give you, a super bright, pretty orange. Well, not necessarily. Let's get a little more yellow into that. And you think it would keep getting brighter. It doesn't. Watch this. Uh-oh. Can you knock the drum down? Let's see, this is much brighter. This is more of a muted, kind of almost a pumpkin-y orange. And if you want pumpkin orange, that's great. And that's a good thing to have there. Okay. And then what we'll do, and I'll show you this other red as well from the Arteza set. And this is the Crimson Red. Yeah, I've got some right there. I don't need more. Okay. And don't feel like, oh my gosh, I got to put a ton of paint on my palette. No, you don't. Just little bits. You don't need much. It doesn't take much to do that. But here we go. I'm going to put this lemon yellow in there. Get a little more of that. And then we're going to come over and take that Crimson Red, this one here, and just mix a little bit of that. In the darker colors, generally, you don't want to mix. You want to mix, usually like 2 to 1, maybe even more. Sometimes way more, especially with the phthalos and the phthalates. Here we go. I probably should have done that on here so you can see. Well, we'll do this. And we're going to need quite a bit more yellow there. But this is a really blue leaning red here. And see, it's doing close to what this is. It's even more muted though. It almost looks, and sometimes when when I'm mixing on the page here, I go through, it almost looks like there's blue in the mix there. And that's pretty close to that. This one's brighter though. And this is more orange, and almost looks red now next to these others, but it's not. But here we go. You have a teeny bit of water in there. My brush is getting a teeny bit dry. Brush is getting dry. You need to put more paint on it. If you feel it dragging on your paper or your canvas, you need to put more water on it, or to put more paint on it, or both. It depends. You'll get that. But you can see how this is far more muted than this over here. This is a much brighter color. This is kind of in between, because it's got the blues from this has a blue in it, and so does this. And this one almost looks muddy. Almost looks brownish. When you hear people talking about, oh, that's muddy or whatnot, they're generally talking about, it turning like a brown color that's not exactly pleasing to, or not exactly what they were looking for. Although some quote-unquote muddy browns can actually be they can actually be what you're after. And then let's try mixing up some greens here too, and then we'll hit the purples here in a minute. So And we're just playing today, and then I'll show you how to do a chart. I know we're already roughly about an hour and a half or so. So I think we'll finish with that today, and I'll give you some homework to do for next week. So here we go. And I'm going to try to do this on Tuesdays for now. Tuesday around 10 o'clock-ish kind of tends to work for me, although, you know, sometimes I have something come up and I may have to delay it for another day, but I'm going to try to keep it on for Tuesday mornings around 10, 11 o'clock, somewhere in there for starting time. So hopefully that works for people. If not, you can always watch it later, which is good. And you can always leave comments on underneath my videos, and I will try to read them and get back with you, or I'll try to answer if it's a question that I think most people would be interested in. I'll try to answer it on the video. Okay, so now I'm gonna spray my palette here. The paintings are starting to get a little dry, and I'll just give it a little squirt. So there's palette, squirt, 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 and not too much, just get them good and wet, you know, so they're not gonna dry out. Okay, well here's that clean yellow here, and we're gonna come over here, and we'll do. Let me see. Well, let me see. Let's do the one out here first. We will do the Cerulean Blue. And that's kind of unusual blue here. I'm going to pick this up. Well, I'm going to mix this over here. We're going to... Oh, wait. No. Whoops. I already got the other blue. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. I got the Ultramarine. So, okay. So now we're going to do Ultramarine. So I'm going to mix this. I'll just do it over here. Here we go. Here's Ultramarine. And you're like, oh, that's kind of like an army green. Well, no, we're going to keep adding yellow to it. And it'll just go all the way almost out to being yellow. You're not going to get that cartoony bright green doing this. Because these two colors just don't make it. It's pretty green. It's more of a naturally green. Here. Let me see. And we'll go right down here where the ultramarine is. And that's our ultramarine mixed with yellow there. And then we'll compare that to, and I'm going to give you guys a chart to do. I'm going to show you the chart that I've started, and I want you guys to do the same so you'll know what colors go together and which ones, you know, which colors do what with which colors. And what we're going to do is do a chart of the colors that you have and in whatever set you put together that you bought, and we're going to put that together. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to take a teeny weeny bit of this Selalu blue, because this stuff is really potent. And let me see, I'm going to need a little more of that. It's got white mixed in here. I'll just drop some more of our lemon yellow there. It's, you know, it's pretty, you know, pretty close to a cad yellow, not exactly, but that's pretty close. It'll work. Okay, and see that little teeny bit on there? That's about all you need. This is really stout stuff. So here we go. We're gonna take it over here, and there's our green. This is gonna make a pretty green here. The Selalu makes a nice green, because that is. There we go. I'm mixing it on here so you can see what I'm doing. And there we go. And that's your Selalu mixed with your lemon yellow from this set. Or if you have a cad yellow, the same thing. But look at the difference in the grains. This one looks more brownish now next to this other grain. You go, oh wow, that is different. It is very different. Different colors, and they mix together. Don't necessarily do what you think they're gonna do. And it's pretty interesting. But, oh, you know what? No, this is, oh wait, that's Ultramarine Blue, I think. Oh no, no, I did get Selalu, never mind. That's a Selalu. I know Selalu makes pretty green. Okay, and here I'm going to have to get a little more Ultramarine out. Ultramarine's going to make more of a greenish type of thing here. Let's see, a little bit more. There's a bit on there, but there's a little bit of contamination here and there. This green's strong, but it's not as, you know, dye/pigmented as the, you know, the phthalates are are more of a dye than an actual pigment. Or actually, I think they're synthetic pigments, I believe, but they definitely can change on you there. But and if you can see the difference, that's your Phthalo Blue. This is the Ultramarine right next to it here. So anyway, we're going to take this out, trying to find just a little clean spot here. I got my plate a little wetter than I thought I was going to there, but I'll just let it dry out a little bit here, and then we're going to take a little bit of this clean yellow here. I'm going to drop it in there. Here we go. And this one's not going to be quite as bright and cheery here. You can see that. That's more kind of an army green. And you'll never get this brighter green that we got with the Phthalo, with the Ultramarine Blue. It just won't mix that way. It's got a little bit of reddish in it. This is why. So let me see here. No, I think I already did that. Oh, did I already? Oh no, this is, yeah, like I said, this Ultramarine is kind of more like the, I just painted it over there. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Get the right one here. That one's that one. Let's put this one over here. This is the one that's the Ultramarine there. But you can see the difference in these greens. That's, you know, this one's darker, more muddy. This one's kind of more yellowish, more muddy. Although we could mix a little more the Cerulean Blue into that, but that's what you're gonna get. And then this has that nice bright, almost cartoony green. It's like a really bright green, or like a green, not necessarily cartoony, but it, you know, some people call it that, but it's more of a green like you'd see, like, you know, in Ireland, you know, or something, where the greens look almost surreal. They're so bright and, you know, vibrant and whatnot. But in nature, you're going to be dealing more with those colors. Or you can even mix this here with your Phthalo and your lemon yellow, and add just a little bit of one of the reds, and you can get more of the muted greens like that. And that's how you're going to mix your browns, and you can actually mix your so-called blacks with that as well. And you know, sometimes you might even want to kick a little black in there just to see it. Anyway, so we've got our regular colors here. We've got our tints in the middle, and that should be a good start for a color wheel. And then we played around a little bit to show the different outcomes with that. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, we didn't do purples. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me do purples real quick, and then I'll get onto the chart and tell you what I want you to do for next time. And then if you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below. You know, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. I'm pretty new to YouTube, so I'm trying to figure out all these things. What is it? Subscribe. Share. That's it. Share, subscribe, and ring the bell or whatever, something like that. Anyway, all right. So let's get our blues. Okay, we're gonna start with our Cerulean Blue down here, and I already know that's kind of a greenish kind of color. Okay, there's our Cerulean there. Make sure I got you guys on the screen here. Oh, well, I'm way above you guys, I think. Oh, you can't even see up there, can you? Oh, Fred. Uh-oh, sorry about that. Oh, wow, I thought you guys could see that far. Clearly not. Okay, so you didn't even see the oranges. Oops, that's not good. Okay, now I got you on screen. Okay, well, there's that Cerulean Blue right there. We're going to take a bit of this lemon yellow. Oh, wait, no, we're not doing, oh, shoot. No, we're not doing greens. We just did greens. Uh-oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, and we'll do, okay, so there's that, and then we'll take some of this, we'll take some cad red here, if you can see that on the edge there. This is the cad red here, your cadmium red, and we'll mix that, and that should make a purple, right? Not so much. Here you go. I'll let that down. That's what purple is. No, it's not. And if you mix that up and don't really water it down, so you can't really see what that looks like, that's more of a gray. That's a gray. And you can actually turn that into a black. That is not going to make you purple. But if you're after a black and you're using those colors in your painting, you know, the cadmium, or this, like this Scarlet Red that we have over here, this one here, you can do that. I apologize for you not being able to see the oranges down there. I thought my camera got that, but clearly it did not. So I'll have to mix more down here. I might have to flip over and get another piece of paper here. Anyway, so this is your, this right here is your Cerulean Blue hue. And hues, like I said in my last video, hues are just the less expensive version of the real thing. And they're the same color, and they mix just about the same too. Anyway, that's your cerulean with this like cadmium red. It will make, like literally I can make a black out of that if I wanted to. Good stuff. So, but you're not going to get a bright purple out of that. Now what we'll do is we'll try the crimson red. I'm just going to take a little dot. Whoops. Yep, I guess it popped out on me. That's one thing I don't like about these tubes. These tubes are awful for that. That's one thing I really don't like about them, but that's way more than I want on there. I just, oh, hold on. This thing is really going crazy on me here. Okay. All right, so this is that cerulean here. All right, I'm sorry, that's the crimson red. It's more like the bluish kind of red that's in this set. And we're going to mix this with this, oh wow, I put way too much, with the cadmium. And see, there's a nice black right there. And to see if it's really black, you know, it is a little purple, but let me lighten this up on this end so you can see. Oh, it's got a lot of blue in there. Let's see. Let's, there we go. I'll mix some more of that in there. There we go. I'll mix some of this down here too. There we go. And it is kind of purple, but it's not a bright purple whatsoever. And you can make a good black out of that, by the way. And when you're doing your chart, if you find a color like this is a really good example. But see, I can lighten this up with as much white, and then toss some more white in here. It's got a little bit extra colors in there, but it's not enough to really mess with anything. But no matter how much you lighten this up, you're not going to get a bright purple out of that. And that's kind of, you know, one of the things I wanted you to see and think about, because there are certain colors that are not going to give you a pretty purple that you think it's going to give you, but it can give you a really great black if you need like a shaded area or whatnot in your stuff there. All right, now let's kick down. Oh wait, that's ultramarine. Oops. Okay, let's get I get some phthalo blue here. Oops. And let's see. Kind of put one of those on top of the other. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna get some of the phthalo blue and find my connector. Let's see here. You're gonna be working right with that little dot right there. We're gonna get, we're gonna take that, and then we're going to get my quinacridone. I just had it like 2 seconds ago. I just had it. Oh, here it is. Wound up way back here. Okay, then we're going to take our quinacridone magenta, and we're going to pop that little flippy right beside it there. A little more than that. Let's see. There we go. That's probably more than enough. Let's see, I've got a pretty good chunk of paint on there just to play around with mixing here, but that's okay. Here we go. I'm going to go like this and just take a teeny bit. Remember how strong that is? That's really strong stuff. Oh wow, probably too much there maybe. Okay, now there's your purple. That's a quinacridone right there. Let's paint this on there, and then I'll add some white to it, and you can really see how pretty it is. So these are your other red and blue mixes, but here's your quinacridone with your phthalo blue. And there you go. And then we're going to add a little bit of white to that so you can see how you're going to make a tint of this. And you can see how really pretty that bright color, that bright purple can come out to be. So if you're looking for a really pretty purple, like you've got roses or whatnot that have that really pretty thing there, you can do that. And you can add a little more white even down here and make it lighter. Or if you want a little more pinky kind of color, you can just take a tad more of the quinacridone. We can go darken it back down again. and maybe even put it, and then if you, take it out of this here, just a teeny bit, itty bitty bit, and I even tried to dot some off. That's an itty bitty bit of that blue there, that Selalu blue. That's stout stuff. And see how that just like almost turned the whole thing blue again. And this orange here, if you can see, that is dry. But yeah, I almost put too much there. That's, yeah, that blue is stout stuff. I have to, it's kind of a struggle. Okay, let's mix these guys together again. I got some more blue. Got some more of that yellow blue. There's that purple again. Now you see what a nice purple that is. You're looking for, some classes will tell you you need a, what is it, the certain type of purple. I can't think of the name of it right now, but if you're looking for like a vibrant purple, there you go. Get out your quinacridone magenta. They don't call it red and not crimson. Get quinacridone magenta. That's the one that you want. And then you can mix it with like a Selalu blue, for instance. Let me say. And the quinacridone magenta does not come in the set of 14 of the Arteza colors that I bought. That's something you'll have to buy separately, but it is a great color to have, especially if you want these really pretty purples. That's what you're going to look for. Purples, pinky pinks, that sort of thing. Like come down here and look at this pink down here. That's what you're looking at there. And I'm hoping, okay, you can see that down there. And it is kind of hard to see because it is, the lighting isn't totally best in here, but let's see if I'm going to spin this around so you guys can get a better look at that. There's the purple. That's like more of a, I'm trying to get the light hit a little better so you can see a little better. But this is more what you're here. I'll just try to dab some out there. You can see a little better, and I'll give it a little bit of white. And the lighting in here does it. I don't know. It could just be my camera too. So you guys let me know. You let me know if that looks like a real pretty bright purple to you, because that's what these colors do and do best. The quinacridones are. And quinacridones will sometimes react with paints in kind of irregular ways from other paints, and they really can make a really beautiful thing. But if you're looking for those really pretty pinks and whatnot, instead of say this down here where you're getting your blacks and your grays, then you really want something like quinacridone magenta. You can get close with some, like a crimson magenta or quinacridone crimson, but in order to get this real bright color, you want that quinacridone magenta. That's the only thing I've seen that's going to do it. You can come close, but you're not going to get the bright purple. So anyway, okay. Well, I apologize for you not being able to see those oranges, but the same thing with the oranges. This is your your brighter, more orangey yellows here. The lemon yellow works fine with it, but also your cadmium. The lemon yellow in the Arteza set. That acts more like a cadmium, and it gives you that bright orange. And if you start mixing the other, this lemon yellow with some of the other reds, and you get these more muted colors, more muted oranges. That's why you have this brighter orange here and these more muted ones there. And same thing with the purples. The purples, you got to have that quinacridone magenta to really make it pop, in my opinion. There's some other magentas out there, but the quinacridone is my favorite. We're going to get into some of the mixing things and surprises and whatnot later on. In fact, you'll probably find them out when you do your chart. So I'm going to give this a little thing here. See if we have anyone right now. Let me see here. Oh, hey, I see Fluid Acid No Juice. How are you doing today? Oh, I guess she's gone. Okay. Well, thank you for coming by. All right. Anyway, I still got to figure out this chat thing and whatnot. I know computer stuff fairly well, filming stuff not so well. So we're going to, I guess I'm going to be learning that. But as far as teaching, I've been doing teaching for many years, so that's nothing new. So anyway, so that's the color wheel. If you followed along, great. I thank you. If you are doing this later, that's good too. And you're going to want to play with your paints a little bit. And at this point in time, a couple colors at a time, and maybe adding some white for your tints, like we did here in the middle. I think that's good enough to get you going on some mixing. And the next project, I'm trying to flip my book over here, is going to be a color chart. And here we go. This is going to be quite a project. It doesn't look like a whole lot when you look at it, but you start mixing your paints and you're going to find out really fast. This is a fairly big project. Let me see if I can get my camera up here a little bit. These are the Arteza colors. When I get new paints, I will take them out, and at the very least, I will do this. I will make squares. I just take a ruler and draw some lines. I can show you in a little bit. And I'm gonna, I will take, let me see if I can lift the camera up a little bit, but I'll write the name of the paint, I'll put what the colors are, and I will paint a square of each color. And I just made too many squares, so I just X those out. But this Arteza kit is Arteza 14, I believe. Yeah, Arteza 14 set of acrylics premium. It says Arteza 14 acrylic colors premium on it. This one has a gold, silver, titanium white, Mars black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre. Let me see, I cannot read the writing here. That's the Scarlet Red, Crimson Red, Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine, Phthalo Green. What do they call this one? This is pale green, and then a lemon yellow, which is kind of like your cadmium. Regardless of whether you bought the separate colors from the other video, or you bought this set, regardless of what you have, always make a chart. Paint your paints in little squares or circles, whatever works for you. I just do squares because I can draw them with a ruler, and I don't have to do it. Once you've got, your titanium white, which is pretty much all going to be the same, you don't necessarily need a black. A lot of the kits come with it. It's okay to have, especially if you're doing anything. It's kind of hard on the video to see the difference between the black and the burnt umber. There's clearly a difference, but it's tough to see on here, which is why you need to paint your own. But then it comes with all these different colors. And then what you're going to do is along the top, you're going to take a dot of each color up here. And you can see my little dots there. And these correspond to the colors up here, which I have labeled. And you really can't read it on the video, but anyway, take a dot of each color and put it above your little grid that you've made here. You can also use graph paper to help you with this. I just do it on this paper because I keep a notebook of this. I do different paints and whatnot. And then down here, you're going to start with the first color, and this one happened to have gold. So here I have gold, and my first dot is silver. So I'm going to mix my gold and my silver, and that's what's going to go there. I mix it on a palette. And then the next one is white. So I have gold with white, and it makes kind of a nice flesh color. It's a little reflective there, not too much, but kind of takes the reflectiveness out of it. And then you go along, and each and every paint, you're going to take the paint at the beginning square here, and you're going to mix it with each and every other color paint that you have in your set, or separate ones if you bought those. And then you're going to go to the next color here, like the next one's silver on here. And then you're going to mix silver with silver, which is silver. So these two bars here are just silver. Then you're going to go silver with white, and then so on and so on. And one thing that you'll realize once you get going on this is that if you have one square going across here, like say you're out here at, well, for instance, I was looking at trying to get a certain green for here, so I haven't completed my chart yet. All these are going to be painted in when I get finished with it. But I needed a certain color and wanted to see what colors would come out when I mix this yellow and some of the greens and whatnot, especially, but I ended up going all out. But when you mix this yellow, so this is like this yellow with yellow, which is just yellow, and some of the green got on there, but I'm not too worried about it. When you do your first chart, you're probably going to be a lot neater than I. But so then I got the yellow, and then this green here, which in this one, because I wanted to see what this green could do. This is a pale green. I know what phthalo green is. So I wasn't too worried about that, but I really wanted to see what this yellow and this pale green would do, because who knows what's in that pale green. It's just one of those oddball colors. I thought, let's see what happens here. So I wanted to see what that is. I also wanted to see what it did with white, and I love that color. That's kind of that minty green color, and I like that. But the point I'm trying to make is when you do, here's your yellow with yellow, but when you go, yellow with your pale green here, and you've got the yellow here, and your next one here is also pale green. So you're always going to have 2 squares to paint in on a chart like this with the colors just crossing each other. You're going to have 2 colors that are going to be the same. Now, when I did this up here, I could have filled in all this here as well. And I didn't think about it. And I went, oh, I should have done that. Oh, well, that's life. But see, when when you do silver here is silver here. When you do, say, white here and then white with, I believe that's the Mars black that makes this gray. Well, if I thought about it, the black with the white would be right here too. So this and this square will be exactly the same. And say if you just randomly pick one, say your burnt sienna here. Say if I, like when I go out here, if I do burnt sienna and I hope I'm not confusing you, but if I do burnt sienna and yellow ochre here, then I can take the burnt sienna from here, this row here, or column, I mean, take this one will be burnt sienna and your yellow ochre, which will go right here. And then if you go this way, this burnt sienna and yellow ochre meet here. So these 2 squares here are going to be exactly the same. And you're going to run through that all throughout your chart here. So anyhow, I hope that didn't, if that bothers you, just do them straight across. Mix for everyone. You're not only going to mix a teeny weeny bit of paint for these squares. You don't need much. But what you're trying to do is just see, well, if I mix this, if I mix, this color, say whatever. Say if I mix, say, burnt umber here with yellow, what is that going to look like? And you put it there. So when you ever go back and you want to see something, or like I wanted to see what this yellow did with this green. If I want to go back ever and see what those 2 paints do together, I go, okay, there's my square. That's what those 2 look like together. And that will let me know what the mixing is. So what I'd like you to do is make a fairly large square of your different paints, and then make a grid. Make it across as many paints as you have, like there's 14 in this case, and then down you want 14 if you have 14. Some of you may only have 12 because or 11, because some of you aren't going to have the black, and you're not going to have like the gold and silver, for instance, because those are kind of optionals. And some of you may not have gotten the greens either, so some of you may be down to 2, 4, 6, 8, about 11 paints. So you only need 11 by 11. But what you want to do is like I said, you can even do a square up here and just have, like, say, a square of each of your colors like you have up here, and then a square going down of each of the colors, and you're going to have duplicates going both directions. I just put dots here, but you can do it either way. And then mix each of those together with each paint, each paint with one of the other colors for each square. And that way, if you ever go back, you will know what that is. If it helps you, you can leave space between these, and you can label each one. Like say phthalo green with white. That's what it looks like. And actually, that's a really pretty color. It's that minty green thing going on there. So anyway, I'd like you to make a grid of your colors. Don't try to do it all at once. If you have even 11 colors, it can take you hours and hours to do this. So break it down, do a little bit each day. Don't try to overdo it. If it makes sense to you, you can do, the 2 different squares in a grid like I do, or you can label each one. Just make sure you mix each paint with each of your other paints so you know what those look like. On a grid like this, you're going to have every one of them is going to be duplicated. You're going to have 2 squares on here for every mix. It's going to be the same. So say if I did, for instance, if I did say phthalo blue, and I say I did phthalo blue and yellow on this square here, and you're going to have yellow here and phthalo blue right here. So you're going to have 2 squares that are going to be the same. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. And you guys have fun, and I think we're probably close to, we're about an hour and 40 minutes. So hopefully that'll be it. And thank you for coming to the art class. And I hope you have a great day. And like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. And you have a great day. And I may come in and do some other stuff during the week. And I got some projects going on that are a little different, but got to get on here and play. So you have a great day, and hope to see you soon at the art class. Bye-bye.